Hi, welcome to the Media Suite video production and editing guide, including Adobe Premiere, and this is part 7. In part 7 we'll be looking at fades and transitions between your video files and your audio files in order to soften the transition from one video to another and to create quite interesting fades away. It can be very useful if you've split your recorded podcast or mini lecture that you're recording in the Media Suite into sessions or subjects, and you can actually fade in and out between one just to soften the transition and to enable you to get a nice, more professional feel to the video output. Now, for the process of this, although we've been working on a single Premiere Pro project file all the way through, we'll start a kind of a new project file. I'll use all the same files, but just to simplify the main window, which will be the timeline window down here once we actually click on it, rather than trying to see it drop files in the video that we've created already. Although once you've done that, you'll then be able to get an understanding of how we've created the transitions on the file we've got already. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing we need to do is obviously add some video to our timeline. We might choose initially double click a video to bring it up in the box above, and we might decide that we want this whole video, which is a screencast video of a colleague of mine, Richard, demonstrating the use of Adobe Lightroom. And this could be, yourself recorded in the Media Suite or a screencast you've done on Screencast-O-Matic. So we're going to drop this onto our timeline. If we want it all, we can select it all, or we can use our in and out points using the I and O keys to select portions. For this instance, we're going to take all of it. So I'm going to drag the whole lot down, and we're going to drop it onto our timeline. So if the timeline isn't appearing, you just double click your sequence 01. That'll create your timeline for you down here. So we're going to drop this video here onto video line 1 on our timeline. Brings the audio across with it as well. You see the audio comes down. If the video that the project file that we set up in Premiere Pro doesn't match the settings of the video we're using, we can change the sequence settings so it matches the videos that we're bringing in. So there we go. So there's our video. It's available in video line 1. We click play, we'll be able to hear it play.
Hi. What I'm going to show you in this video is how I would process this colour image into
Okie dokie. So what we might decide from here is that we actually want to bring in another video, as we've done previously. We've dropped in a video as a video cutaway. We want to bring it in on an upper timeline and allow us to cut away to this video. And we could do that quite simply again by choosing any video that we've already picked. I'm going to come down here and we'll use this clouds video here. So we'll bring this across and we'll drop it as a cutaway on video line 2. So if we press play now, we'll see the video play through video line 1, and about 30-second point it'll go into video line 2. If we're not happy with the position, we can move this easy. You see, because the linked audio moves with it as well, take it back to the existing position, and so we can decide exactly where we want it on our timeline. So we just move our playhead along to demonstrate how this transitions between the two. So you'll see the main video, and in a moment it's going to transition to our video cutaway line.
Right, and here's the Silver Effects Pro panel. As you can see down the left hand side here where I'm moving my mouse, there's different presets.
In this instance we've brought across the audio as well. We might decide that we don't want the audio, so what we could do in this instance is press stop a moment, take our video back. And there's two ways of achieving this. We can either unlink the audio file from the video file, which allows us then to cut the audio file away, so that then, as we showed previously, it'll play and maintain audio from line 1 whilst going to line 2. So we'll just quick and play that again. I'll just drop my volume up so you can hear it. So if we play the video again,
here's the Silver Effects Pro panel. As you can see down the left hand side here where I'm moving my mouse, there's different presets which you can use as a guide.
Now initially here you'll notice that as we're playing that the video is actually playing. It was almost like a video in video because the actual overlaying video, this one here, is actually set slightly smaller. Now what we could do is we can resize this so it becomes a true cutaway. Quite simply, or we can keep it as a video in video. So we might decide that we want this cutaway as a video in video, in which case we could hold our shift key down to maintain the proportions. We could bring this video smaller. So in this instance we can have a video playing within a video. Again, this can be really useful if you're recording your podcast, you're talking away and you've got a video that you created earlier talking about a specific subject. You can either bring it in two ways. You can bring it in as a pop-up video or as a true cutaway. So here we've seen how we can do both. I'm going to make this so it does actually fill the screen of the video. We'll have it full size, so hold the shift key down again. So here we'll have a full-size video over video. So if we press play.
Right, and here's the Silver Effects Pro panel. As you can see down the left hand side here where I'm moving my mouse, there's different presets which you can use.
There we go. So we can see that the video quickly moves along, transitions, but the transition from video 1 to video 2 is quite sudden. Now what we might decide is we want to transition onto video 2 that softens the approach or softens the way that video appears. It's relatively easy to do. We've got a number of ways we can do this. We go into effects in our project bin, and we've got a number of effects that we can choose to actually overlay on top of this video. So we'll have a look around here. We've got presets, audio effects, audio transitions, video effects and video transitions. Now there you go. What we'll see is that video transitions is the one we want. We've got a number of them. We've got 3D motion, dissolves, iris, wheels, slides and wipes. Now what we might decide is we want a nice simple dissolve that brings in the start of this video for us, and so it's not quite as dramatic. So either one we want to choose, we can choose the dissolve. Again, we can use a slide again, which will bring it in quite easily. But I think in this, or we can use a move, a flip over, a cube or a spin. Depends how whiz you want to get without sort of distracting the students from the actual video that's going to appear. So in this instance I'm going to choose the dissolve, use a cross dissolve which will kind of fade between the two, and all you do, as you would any file from this media bin here, your project bin, you literally click on with your left mouse button onto the cross dissolve icon here, and we hold it and we drag it on to the video that we want it on. So there you go. So now we've put it on the start of the video. Now what we can also do is we can make this cross dissolve either longer, should we choose, or shorter. But let's see how this cross dissolve affects the video now. So if we press play, and we'll see there's a much easier fade and transition into the video that we've moved from. So again, what you want to do is again add a very similar thing at the end of your video also. So we use our cross dissolve, left click, hold this button on, bring it across, and we drop it onto the end of our video. And here we're cross dissolving into the end of the video. So if we watch this, we'll play it through. A lovely soft transition.
Silver Effects Pro panel. As you can see down the left,
it maintains our audio from video line 1 whilst keeping the cutaway video playing in video line 2.
What I tend to do,
as it plays through the video in a moment, we'll see a nice gentle cross dissolve and fade away back to video line 1.
Again, there's different starting points you can work from. And then what I do
And
now
there you go,
is
in 2 or 3 easy steps we've created very professional looking cross dissolve on our timeline. So what we might want to do now is, now we've added this one, and we might want to add a second. You might have split your lecture chunk into, or your lecture into 6, 7, 8, 5 chunks, whatever you've gone with, and you might want to record these separately and add them to your timeline. In that case you might want to add these dissolves at the beginning and the end so they fade in between, or you can, there's another way of doing it, so you can actually change the opacity so it fades from one video to the other. So what we're going to do now is we'll come down here and click on our timeline. We're going to press the minus key to zoom out, just so we can see the timeline in its full scale, and so we can see where everything is now. And we'll go back into our media browser over here, into our Project Media Suite 2, and we'll look for a second video that we can drop on to actually follow on from our first video, and this is going to go on video line 1. So I'll look down the screen and I'll find a video that I want to put in. Now in this instance I might want to use this one that we've brought across as a demo, so we'll double click it to bring it in here. Again, we decide, do we want the whole video or do we want part of it? We could bring it all across very easy. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to bring across part of this video. So I'm going to mark my in point, use my scroll bar again to move along, and we'll mark an out points, I and O, and here we can bring across our video onto video line 1. Almost quite a simple process. We might decide that, certainly with this video, listening to the noise, that we don't want the noise on this one, so it could be something that we recorded that doesn't actually require the sound. In that case we could just bring the video only, and I think in this instance this is what I'm going to do. So I'll bring my video over by left click and hold, and I'll drop it onto line 1. Again, if we don't want to do it that way, we can, like I say, that brings everything, or I can just grab the video symbol, bring the video with me, and you notice the difference down here is that the only thing that comes over this time is the video. Now to do the transition as a fade or an opacity between these two videos on the same line, we've got 2 options of doing it. So back into our timeline again, we zoom in so we can see really close detail of what we want to do. Use our navigator bar on the bottom to move along to the point where we're looking at the transition and the crossover. We can move our playhead just to see initially, if we press play, we get quite a sudden transition. So it's video 1, up, boom, into video 2, boom, boom, boom. There we go. So we see video 1, video 2. We also see that video 2 is slightly smaller. So we can select video 2, and we can easily double click on it, and again in this sense it's kind of a video in video at the minute with a black background. If we hold the shift key down, we can fill the screen with this video. Right, so there we go. So if we now scroll back with video line 1 into video line 2, but again there's quite a harsh transition. Now there's 2 ways of actually addressing this. As we've shown before, we can drop on our transitions that we've done, or what we could do is we could come down into this menu here down the left hand side of our timeline, and we could grab the pen tool. Using the pen tool, if we look into our video line here, so we're in video line 1, you'll notice that it has a yellow line running through it all the way through. Now this line is actually quite a key and important line. This is the opacity line, and what we can do with the opacity line is we can mark a point on the opacity line kind of just before the end of the video, and then after this we can kind of set another point on the opacity line where we can drag. So again, we might want to zoom in to get really key detail of how we're working with this. We might have dragged this opacity down, and what we'll do now is we'll find how this video transitions with this opacity dropped. So if we press play just before we start dropping the opacity, the video is in full view, then it fades out, and although we do get a very sudden fade in on the next video. So you've guessed it, yes, we'll want to apply the same level of opacity swap over onto video 2. So the transition is very simple. So again, we click somewhere on this yellow line at a point into the video. If we hover over this opacity line, choose the point we want, we'll then come back further down the other end of the line and drag it down. Literally left click, hold and drag down, and then we let go. Now what we'll do, if we move back to our video, we'll press play and we'll see how the video transitions, the opacity drops off, and we get a nice fade, almost a black fade transition between two videos. So press play, it drops off and fades out, and we get a gentle fade in on video 2. So very easily here we have transition between two videos by just using a simple opacity slider, which allows us quite a powerful control of this line. Again, as I say, we can see how it works, and what this will give the viewer is a much easier view of how the video transitions between one and the other, and it'll be a lot less harsh and easier for them to work with. I say what we could do, we could raise the opacity back up by clicking on it just as easily. Bring these opacity lines back up, and we swipe through the video, see there's no difference in the opacity, and we get that harsh transition again. And here what we could do then is go back to our effects line and look at different ways of dissolving these videos out. So we could kind of dip to black, so we could choose dip to black, add it to the end of this video, and we could choose dip to black and add it to the beginning of the previous video. Let's see how we get a change here. So we press play, it plays through, we get a dip to black and then a gentle fade in on the next video. So there we go, we've had two ways of achieving the same outcome. Again, it doesn't have to be the dip to black, we can use a number of techniques at our control, and if we don't like the technique we've brought in, right click on it. We could clear that transition very simply. So in this sense we could get a little bit more tricky and whizzy if we really wanted to, and we could bring over a cube spin, so we could add a spin onto video. So, although first we'll obviously need to select the video line we're working with. And although what you will find is that not all the transitions work with different types of videos, so if you've got your opacity markers set, you might not actually be able to add some of the transitions to different parts of the video. So it's just worth, in that sense, experimenting with the ones that you find will work for you. So we've used the dissolve very easily. Again, you could have a nice slide out on your video again. And again, it's just finding the ones that work well with different videos. So there you go. So we've now added a slide out, so this video will play through and it kind of slides in, transitions into the next video. Again, another way of applying a simple transition between two videos. An excellent way, again, of keeping your viewer engaged with the subject and allowing you to easily transition between two subjects. You can add text into any of these transitions as well, so you get a little bit of text popping up. You can make the transitions longer should you need to. So again, we could select this transition itself and we could make the transition between the two videos that little bit longer. So now if we come back, we press play, we see the transition is longer but a little bit slower in this sense. Again, that's another way of transitioning between two videos on your video line. And if you double click on your transition, bring it up into your effects controls, you can actually deal with the times that the effect works over. You can work with the alignment. You can see how it affects your video here, and you can choose a number of options in terms of if there's a border colours, border widths, and say it can be a very useful way of just working with your controls. And in essence there, in two very short clicks, we've had a look at different ways of transitioning between videos and sliders. So again, what I could do is I could clear my slide and go back to a very harsh transition, and again what we decide then, what do we want to include on it. We can bring in a number of different options that will allow us to transition again. And again here it's just a case of working with the video and seeing what works best for you. So now we've added a cube spin, so if we press play, one video spins out and we rotate into the next one. And that is a simple way of creating transitions between videos either in a synchronous line or videos into a cutaway line, so you get a nice calm transition between different types of video pieces in your video line. The final part of the Media Suite video training guide will go on to look at exporting your files for video output. Thank you very much and goodbye.